This is a story about finding what you need. In 2016, I was in a pretty rough place. I had recently gone through a really bad breakup and I was a little bit lost. And so naturally, like I have done a lot in my life, I've looked towards music. And specifically, I was looking for new music, new bands that would be exciting. And one of the bands I found that year was a band called Sunflower Bean. They had just released their debut album called Human Ceremony, and I fell in love with that album. I loved that they were this really young band and they were fresh and exciting, but they obviously had a lot of influence from older music I loved, psychedelic rock, glam rock, alternative. It seemed like a band that was tailor-made for me. Sunflower Bean is a three-piece band, with Julia on bass and vocals, Nick on guitar, and Olive on drums. And all three had similar stories of being exposed to classic rock when they were young. Julia actually knew from a really early age that she wanted to be a professional musician because of this VHS tape that her dad had of glam rock bands. When she was a little older, her mom had a CD of the Sex Pistols' Nevermind the Bollocks that she would play in the car all the time. Nick was also exposed early to punk and classic rock. The first 3 CDs that his parents ever got for him were the Ramones compilation Ramones Mania, the Rolling Stones live album Get Your Ya-Ya's Out, and oddly this compilation of Pink Floyd dance hits. Nick then later found the band Led Zeppelin, with Jimmy Page becoming his biggest guitar influence. For Olive, it was the classic Who live album Live at Leeds, the ferocious drumming of Keith Moon inspiring her to pick up the sticks herself. Nick and Olive went to the same high school, North Shore High School on Long Island. Nick and Olive started playing together when this band that Nick was in called Turnip King needed a replacement drummer and Olive subbed in. Nick and Olive decided to start a new band together. They started rehearsing at Olive's house and they came up with the name Sunflower Bean. Meanwhile, Julia, who was from Manhattan, was playing in a different band, this band called Super Cute. She ended up seeing an early Sunflower Bean show in 2013, and she said that she just had this weird feeling that she was going to join this band. Julia ended up joining Sunflower Bean, playing bass, which is an instrument she really wanted to play, and with the 3 of them playing together, it was clear pretty quickly that they were doing something special. They said that they were naively serious about the band. Everybody was really focused on working hard and actually making this a career.
If we were going to do it together, we were going to do this thing, there was definitely a feeling of like, we want to be a great band. We like great bands. We want to do something really special and intense. We definitely wanted that, but you know, it was beautiful. Also, like we needed each other.
They started writing songs and playing tons of shows around New York, and in October of 2014, they were invited to play at CMJ. In 2015, they were invited to play at South by Southwest. And in the months between those 2 festivals, the buzz for the band started growing. They ended up getting signed to Fat Possum Records and releasing their debut album, Human Ceremony, in 2016. In 2018, they released their second record, 22 in Blue, which actually charted in the UK. And in 2022, they released their third album, Head Full of Sugar. For an indie rock band in the 2020s, they were really successful. Their albums were well received, they were able to tour all over the world, they had a loyal fan base, but after Head Full of Sugar, they faced their biggest challenges as a band. They'd been playing together since they were kids and now had been a band for over 10 years. They had to learn to be a band together as adults that were going through huge life changes. Olive, during the release cycle of Head Full of Sugar, came out as a transgender woman and had to deal with transitioning while balancing interviews, photo and video shoots, and touring. Nick relocated to California, separating the band of diehard New Yorkers. And Julia went through a breakup with her longtime partner. There was real doubt about whether they would ever make another album together again.
The road to get there was really difficult, and at points it was like the closest we had ever come as to like being like, maybe there isn't going to be another Sunflower Bean album, or maybe we need to take a really extended time away from each other. For us, like our whole lives were the band, and at a certain point we needed to take some time away from that and see what our lives were like outside of that.
But luckily they realized that there's something magical about being in a band together, especially when you've been playing together as long as Sunflower Bean has. They realized that they needed each other. And so they got back into the studio to start working on their 4th album, Mortal Primetime. Lyrically, it's very personal and raw and vulnerable. Musically, you can hear all the band's influences, the music that they grew up listening to, everything from Black Sabbath to Brian Wilson. They've described it as Belle and Sebastian meets Alice in Chains. But it also sounds uniquely like Sunflower Bean. The band has said that this record is them doubling down on being themselves.
Every song that we put on here was it was informed by that experience of like, why am I here? And it's about what we accepted in each other and also accepted about ourselves. Because you also have to accept, okay, well, and say, if I'm going to show up and I'm going to do this every day and do this with my collaborators, I also have to accept that I want to be here. And if I'm going to be here, this is the energy that I need to bring.
It's one of my favorite records of the year so far. It comes out this week, so please check it out. I also did a full interview with the band that you can see on my Substack. This band really helped me get through that tough year in 2016. And by the way, at the very end of that year is actually when I met my wife. There's something really beautiful about staying together when you've met the right partner or partners.